During the Grant administration, the North becomes increasingly preoccupied with its own political and economic problems, and interest in Reconstruction fades. In fact, by the time Grant leaves office, Democrats have redeemed 7 of the 11 former Confederate states. It is a setting in which secret societies like the Ku Klux Klan can use intimidation and violence to undermine the gains that had been made.
The defenders of the Ku Klux Klan argue that the South had devolved into utter chaos, that African Americans were threatening whites' life and liberty, and that there was no one to impose order because the military governments were committed to the interest of African Americans, and so white Southerners took it upon themselves to create an organization to bring order to the South. Well, the practical reality was the Ku Klux Klan was a means of, yes, bringing order, but on the white man's terms. Simply put, the Ku Klux Klan was a terrorist organization used to reestablish white supremacy.
The Republican Congress tries to turn back this new wave of white repression. In 1870 and 1871, they passed 2 enforcement acts that allow the federal government to confront Klan efforts to restrict the vote. This is a first. Never before has government claimed the power to prosecute individual crimes under federal law.
I think it is fair to say that in 1870, 1871, there was an exertion of federal authority and an expansion of black political participation in a way that changed the direction of Reconstruction for a period of time. But by 1874, 75, 76, for a host of reasons, the national commitment to Reconstruction was waning, and white Southerners reverted to using violence and intimidation again, without the sort of umbrella of the Ku Klux Klan.
The Northern Democratic Party all along said Reconstruction is wrong. They sympathized with their Southern Democratic brethren that you have an oppressive government in Washington. So what you have in this period of the 1870s is a struggle within the Republican Party between people who said the federal government has a responsibility to try to protect these people's rights, that is the former slaves' rights, particularly the right to vote, to participate in the polity, and to do what it takes for that to happen. But a growing number of people in the Republican Party said, no, the cost is too high, that these are not really good citizens, and so it's better to have the property classes in the South retake control.
Grant plans to run for another term in 1876, but Republican leaders, shaken by Democratic gains, resist. On Election Day, his name is not on the ballot.
Samuel Tilden was the Democratic candidate for president. Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican candidate for president. When the votes were counted, Hayes won most of the northern states and lost the 2 important states of New York and Indiana. Tilden won most of the southern states, and 3 states in the South were undecided, or disputed, shall we say: Florida, South Carolina, and Louisiana. The old interpretation was that representatives of Southern Democrats met with Hayes representatives in Washington and made a deal.
A deal that has Hayes removing all remaining troops from the South in exchange for support of his presidency. But not everyone agrees with this interpretation.
A half-century ago, one of our most distinguished historians, C. Van Woodward, raised the question, well, Tilden would have removed the troops. That doesn't make any sense. Why would they give in to Hayes on that point? And so Woodward, in his interpretation, entered this into the mix as well, that Hayes' representatives said, well, Hayes would support internal improvements for the South, and the deal was struck.